totally amazing.
What? Wow, that's fabulous.
It's amazing.
Lord.
But heavens.
That is a lot of money.
Almost like winning the lottery.
I mean, we've got a great range of pieces here. I mean, this is the most unusual clock. Where did this one come from?
Well, that was given to my grandparents on the occasion of their marriage in
right.
January 1907.
Oh, right. Well, we can probably sort of get quite close to it by looking at the year code. Worcester put a code on all their pieces. We've got the mark underneath, which is somewhat smudged there, counting the dots, 12, 13, 12. We've got 1905 it was made.
Oh.
So, in stock a year or two, given in that occasion. Most unusual to get porcelain clocks, and a little painted scene there, not signed by the artist, but I think that's probably the work of William Hawkins, a great flower
Nice to
painter.
know.
I say one feels with the porcelain painters and the artists at Worcester that you always know them because living in Worcester myself, as I did, their families are all around. And Dad introduced me to so many of the painters and people whose artists and signed on your pieces of porcelain. Are some of these by your family members?
Yes. My grandmother was a Fildes. Her maiden name was Fildes.
Uh-huh.
And Madge Fildes, who worked at the Porcelain Works for a short while, was her niece. And I feel very privileged to have two pieces that were actually painted by her. Probably not of great value, but they are to the members of my family.
Well, they become special pieces, aren't they?
Yes.
I mean, a great painter of roses particularly,
Yes.
and flowers, and that sort of atmospheric shaded background
Yes.
which Worcester so specialised in.
Yes.
But that's the nice thing. And then your family have been collecting and buying pieces after that?
My father particularly had a great love of Worcester china, and this is part of what he has left to me.
Did he know the painters himself?
I'm not sure whether my father actually knew, but certainly my grandfather, who was a well-known character in Worcester, he certainly knew Harry Davis and the Stintons.
Right, and we can see their work here. I mean, of course, Harry Davis means a lot to my family because Dad knew him very well. I was just a very young boy. I was 9 years old when I met Harry Davis and would spend hours as a boy watching him paint. And I can see the magic name Harry Davis on this one. You've got some very unusual pieces. To get this subject, he's famous really for his French-style landscapes and sheep. Here you've got a little cottage scene.
Yes.
I mean, that's very unusual to find. What gorgeous flowers growing up there. You can imagine yourself sitting by the cottage, as of course Harry would have done. He did little sketches and watercolours of local scenes. Is that a local building, do you know?
I would think it's somewhere around Worcester, but I just feel that the flowers look as if they're almost growing. They come out as if they're alive. Absolutely amazing.
I mean, that's the magic of porcelain. Somehow the colours are sealed there. They never change. We're looking at them now as they were painted. And a great big vase there by another marvellous artist. There's the work of Charlie Baldwin. Bird lover through and through, and sweeping swans growing around there. I mean, nowadays collectors are of course keen on wares, and the value goes very much by who painted them. And a little vase by Madge Files will be £250. A cup and saucer about 100, so not little bad. But moving up in the scale of the artist's work, your clock, which was their wedding present clock, family piece, is going to be, for its rarity alone, probably £800, £1,000. Then moving up to the top artists, and Harry Davis there on a vase and cover with an unusual scene. I suppose it's going to be £5,000.
Pardon?
£5,000 now for Harry Davis vase. The painters themselves would have been shocked at these values. He'd never earned that in his life, poor old Harry. But here, a vase that size, in that quality, you're probably £8,000.
Pardon?
And a vase by Charlie Baldwin is going to be £7,000.
Goodness me.
Now, I mean, it makes you think really, when these were made as labours of love by the artists, as great bits of porcelain, but now they're expensive treasures too.
My mother told me that she remembered it arriving at my grandmother's flat. I can't tell you when, somewhere around 1905, 1910,
Right.
from the Tiffany studio in New York.
So we have something that appears to be a Tiffany lamp. It's a very good background provenance, as you might say.
Yes.
You know, the fact that it comes directly through the family is wonderful, because obviously I must start by saying that one has to approach any Tiffany lamp with the deepest suspicion. This is in no way questioning your story,
no.
but fakes abound.
Yes.
Louis Comfort Tiffany was one of the great designers of the late Victorian period. He wasn't just an artist and designer, of course he ran department stores in effect. There were branches in Paris and London and elsewhere. And he specialised in glasswares. And of course he pioneered the use of electric light. He knew that these sort of shades come to life once you turn on the power, as you might say. Can we turn it on and see what happens?
You turn it on.
Right, so it's got there. Now I think we can see immediately the colours burst out of this, because Tiffany specialised in not just coloured glass, but the glass itself is mottled and layered, and so that it's full of colours within each piece. And this of course makes it much more exciting. Is it marked, is the first question I have to ask you.
I don't think it's signed anywhere.
Now that is very unusual. The usual place is obviously on the base, and I'm not going to pick it up, or round the edge of the rim. It's not impossible that it would be unmarked for whatever reason, and I don't understand why. Now, Tiffany did a whole series of lamps which were based on flower forms. There's a poinsettia one, there's lots and lots, many of which are well known. I don't know a chrysanthemum one, and maybe I've got my plants wrong, but in principle the base is fabulous. I think it's a wonderful sort of Art Nouveau quatrefoil form, and the way the plant forms sort of rise up out of these reserved panels, and equally the leaves then continue up those reserves with this completely typical sinuous Art Nouveau line. It's absolutely classic. Now, the story that you tell sounds fine. The only problem is the lack of the mark, and I don't know the shape. But I'm not saying, therefore, it's not a Tiffany lamp. It needs more research. I think in terms of insurance, 10 years ago, I'd have given double the price I'm giving now. And now I would say for insurance, you've got to think about 20 or 30,000.
I have it insured for 25.
Oh, well.
Not a bad guess.
We're dead on. Well, that's good.
My husband bought them in the early 60s because we liked them. We paid £50 for them, which we thought was rather a lot in those days.
£50?
Yes.
Right, yes. First of all, the condition is absolutely stunning. I mean, everything is as crisp as the day it was made. The glassing, it's just so sharp, everything is just as you would want it to be. Finding a pair of claret jugs is unusual. They turn up, but most often you simply find a claret jug.
Yeah.
We've got these wonderful fruiting vines spreading across the lid, and the vines intertwined. You see how they just cross over and over down into the base there. So often when you get something like this, it's been dulled with polishing and so on over the...
Well, I've only cleaned it 4 times since I've had them.
4 times, right. Have you used them?
Not for wine, no.
No. What have you used them for then?
Well, we mostly had them in the cupboard where we could see in the glass case.
Oh, right, just to enjoy.
Yes.
Just to enjoy. Well, they're made in London, and we've got a date here of 1838, but the maker really could not be better.
Oh.
The maker in this case is Paul Storr.
Oh, fabulous. I have heard of him.
It's certainly a name to conjure
Yes.
with. One of the greatest of the silversmiths that has ever been. And it is an early date for claret jugs. They started to get going in the Regency period. You don't see many until you get a little later into the reign of Queen Victoria. So we've got absolutely top maker. We've got a pair. Really, we should be looking at a value of somewhere around 30,000 plus.
What? Wow. That's fabulous.
So a little improvement on the 50,000.
Oh, that's wonderful. Oh, I do wish my husband was here to hear that.
Any idea what period this is?
Well, I've always been led to believe it's Georgian, but I don't know. I don't know for certain. Okay.
George III.
George III, right, splendid.
It's about 1770.
Yeah, right.
Now, this form of table, before we go into the exact date, was virtually invented or certainly promoted by a Scotsman,
Right.
a Scots architect called Robert Adam.
Right. Oh, right. What wood is it?
Mahogany. But
Mahogany,
it's not the best mahogany, and it's got a lot of wear and tear. It looks like a family piece. How long have you had it?
I've had it forever, as long as I've been around, and as far as I know, It's been in the house in which I live, in which my family has lived for 200 odd years.
Right.
So that's all I know about it. It seems to me it's surprisingly high. Is that about the height?
It's typical of the period. It's a carving table, basically.
Right.
And you can see this wear and tear it's had here. I mean, this is 250 years of wear and tear.
Yeah.
This is more recent. It's a vase of flowers or something like that somebody's put on there.
Yeah.
Typical. Don't do it, please.
No, right.
Have you ever noticed one little added extra it's got on it?
What?
I was just crawling around underneath, and under here are 3 finger marks. You see these? So little gouges here.
Yeah.
Right, if I put my fingers in there like that and pull...
Oh, no. I never knew that existed.
Isn't that nice?
Well, it's a total surprise. I didn't know it existed.
It looks like it hasn't been open for a while. It's a bit dusty there, look.
Yeah.
It's hardly ever been used, this. See, it's very clever.
Yeah. Good heavens.
But also, what I like about this, I mean, it's got a lot of sophistication about it, yet at the same time, I love this fluting here, this sort of copied from ancient Greece, this fluting. But then this, what's called an oval patra, this flower head here. But I can't see it on this one, but the one here, that's actually nailed on.
Good heavens.
Look, little
Oh,
nail.
yes, I see, yeah.
So whoever made this probably didn't make these. Somebody else made them. He bought them in and just stuck them on.
Yeah.
Interesting for what is a sophisticated piece of furniture.
That's not cheating? No. Well.
No, it's perfectly genuine piece. So we need to value it. I mean, it's Georgian furniture, I think most people know, has gone up in value recently. Have you had it valued in the last few years or anything? Has there been any valuation on it? It
was valued for probate when my aunt died, which is 3 years ago. And I think it was, they valued it at £12,000, which seemed to me an extraordinarily high figure, but I don't really know what I'm looking at. So that's what it was.
It does seem an awful lot of money, doesn't it, for what is essentially just a side table and a bit scratched.
Right.
Well, I think that today, for your insurance policy, you should insure it for £30,000.
Thank you very much. That's totally amazing.
Who is he?
My father. He was born in Australia, and he came to this country, and he took his degree in Scotland as a doctor. And then he always loved the sea, so he started by being a ship's doctor.
Gracious.
And that is when he was on the Carpathia and the Titanic.
He was on the Carpathia?
Yes. And
what was his job on the Carpathia?
As a doctor.
As the only doctor?
The only doctor, yes.
Gracious.
Yeah.
It says, presented to Dr. McGee as a slight token of affection and esteem by these survivors of the Titanic, April the 15th, 1912.
Yes.
They must have felt incredibly warmly towards him. I mean, he was just the man who had pulled them back from the brink of death.
Yes, I think so.
What do you think happened that night on the Carpathia?
Well, he didn't talk about it too much because it was so awful. And he said there was, all these frozen people he had to deal with brought out of the sea. And it was quite horrific.
It must have been terrifying.
He said it was terrifying. And of course, there were lots of troubles, which I won't go into, about why it was so horrific. But he didn't want to talk about that too much either.
What an amazing story this is. Because as you know, at the moment, there's a sort of fever of Titanic interest.
Yes.
Everybody's been to see the film. There have been huge reports in the press about the whole story of it, as to why it happened, why certain people got the lifeboats and other people didn't. Up here we have a Humane Society award for him and all his bravery at that time.
Yes.
He really must have been a most extraordinary and remarkable man.
Yes.
This is a silver medal.
Yes.
Presented by the Humane Society, which went in conjunction with the certificate at the back.
Right.
But this is something quite different. This is the most extraordinary thing. This is presented to captain, officers and crew of RMS Carpathia from the survivors of the Titanic, April 15th, 1912. That is made out of 14-carat gold.
Yes.
And there were only 14 of them made.
Oh, yes.
Did you know that?
I didn't know that, no.
It's an extraordinarily rare thing. Only the most outstanding officers received one of these awards.
Yes.
It's almost unheard of. If you think in the whole world there are 14 of these objects. The even more peculiar thing is that One of these was sold recently.
Yes.
Now, presumably, you would never consider selling any of these objects
no.
because they're all family objects.
Yes.
They are perhaps things that you might consider insuring.
Yes. Haven't insured them, yes.
I think it's extremely important you do so, because in New York, in 1997, one of these medals was sold for $50,000. So that equates roughly to £30,000 now.
George heavens. I know I do. Can't believe it.
So I think what we have here, looking at your whole collection of objects, are probably things that ought to be insured for £50,000.
Yes, thank you. Yes. It's amazing.
How can you measure one man's valour?
Indeed.
Thank you very, very, very much.
It's been a very moving day for us. Thank you.
People often ask me, what do I look for in jewellery? Of course, it's craftsmanship and it's good design. But sometimes a jewel will give me that immediate head rush of excitement. And that's what these jewels have done to me. And the fact that they have come in very well-known red boxes, the impact that this brooch and these earrings have together, I think is just absolutely gorgeous. So how did you acquire these fabulous jewels?
Well, my mother died last year and she left them to me. I'd seen her wear them, but I didn't really know what they were. And then when I got them home and I realised what they were because of the boxes.
The red box with the Cartier signature inside, and of course they are Cartier jewels. And they are both signed on the back.
Oh, they are?
Yes, they are. I've had a good look. She obviously, clearly loved her jewellery.
She did. My father used to buy her jewellery a lot. And in fact, bought all the girls in the family jewellery quite a lot, so that was lovely.
Really? But of this kind of calibre?
Well, no, not all like that.
And when did he buy them?
I think it was the 70s.
And how did she wear them?
She used to wear them on a suit, usually. My father had race horses, and they used to go racing a lot, and she'd often wear them on her lapel on her suit or something like that.
You say they were bought in the 70s, whereas in fact, they are 40s jewels.
Oh, are they?
In the 40s, because of the austerity years, obviously with the war, you couldn't get the diamonds and the rubies and emeralds and sapphires. And so other stones took over with these citrines, amethysts, topaz, aquamarines, and they really dominated the jewellery of this period. When I turned these over, these have been altered. They didn't start off as pierced, which they are now. They're now for pierced ears.
Yes.
And you can see here the ring around it, and that is indicating to me that there would have been a clip that would have fitted in there exactly.
Yeah.
It's Cartier London, and they're in 18-karat gold. These citrines came in a variety of colours, as you can see, this great sort of lovely graduation of these very rich golden brown colours. The earrings, because they've been altered, you'd be looking in a region of about £10,000.
Lord.
Even though they're altered. And then this brooch, which I would run away. I would run away with. I just think it's spectacular. I love it. I love the colours. I mean, at auction, I could see there would be a little bit of a fight over this. And I would say you're probably looking in the region of around about £30,000.
Goodness me. That is a lot more than I thought. Really is.
They're very special jewels.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you.
Well. Henry Moore was the most original artist of the 20th century. In fact, not since Rodin in the 19th century, I think, had anybody been quite so original as him. You can imagine my surprise to see such an enormous collection of letters from this incredibly great artist, and quite a few of them illustrated, like this one, to Dearest Evelyn. Now, who is Dearest Evelyn?
She's my mother.
She's your mother. And these are all written, I mean, Dearest Evelyn, I can't help just reading a few comments here, seem to be incredibly, incredibly intimate and very, very important. did they have a very close relationship?
I think that she rather hoped that it would lead to something more than it perhaps did.
Marriage or something like that?
I think possibly, yes.
Yes. Well, I don't know. I think that he left her a very nice legacy with these wonderful illustrated letters. This is quite an incredible collection. I mean, this one here, to Dearest Evelyn, with this lovely, I suppose in Picasso terms, you'd say blue period. And this one here too, which is just absolutely charming, this nude under the mistletoe, which I think is absolutely wonderful. And then these letters go on for pages and pages and pages. But however, I think the one that I think is most extraordinary is this letter here, which is Dearest Evelyn, and then with this wonderful, absolutely incredible doodle, which is so like Moore. It's just incredible. Here is a picture of him in the centre here. This is your letter. He's reading her letter. And then a speech bubble over here. Just an attempt which has failed, which I think is absolutely wonderful. I'm going to bed, I'm tired. I mark myself beforehand. Good night, Evelyn.
I like it where he rates it 5 out of 10.
5 out of 10. I think that's right. So, having known Moore, did you have any other paintings or pictures?
My mother had a portrait of herself by him,
yes,
which I can remember as a child, but we lived in a house whose garden went down to the Thames at Kew, and twice we were flooded. The cellar was full to about 8 foot, and it was submerged again, and I can remember having that the insurers paid £500 for it.
They paid you £500 for an oil portrait of your mother by
I think it
Henry
might have been
Moore.
a drawing, I can't remember it, or a black and white sketch.
What a pity.
Yes,
but I mean, this is incredible. You've got a collection here of what, 30 odd love
About
letters?
31, yeah.
Well, love letters, very
Yes.
intimate letters anyway, shall we say. Many with lovely drawings in. I mean, this is just so typical of Henry Moore. It's breathtaking. And I've seen very few Henry Moore letters come onto the market. Still less have I seen ones with drawings in them. But I mean, a drawing by Henry Moore of your mother or somebody like that would probably make the best part of £100,000 on the market today.
They got 500 for it, yeah.
500, whereas a drawing, a small drawing on this scale, of this size, I think would make today the best part of, £10,000. And, you know, these other drawings here, the sort of blue period ones, these are sort of certainly worth a few £1,000s each. So this collection, this magnificent collection of Henry Moore, would, I suppose, be worth somewhere in the region of about £50,000.
Good heavens. Well, I just brought them along because I thought somebody might like to read them if there was a biographer. And
you're absolutely right. I think the chances are that no biographer has actually had a chance to read these at all.
Well, it's wonderful to be here in the Victoria and Albert Museum, but I never expected that we'd actually get brought in a museum quality picture. But that's what you've brought. It is fantastic quality. It really is. Just look at the way he has handled the whole light in this market scene. The way the light comes off the candle and illuminates her face. It's the most brilliant piece of work. And you've got the source of light here, then you've got another candle light here, and tremendously subtle lighting in. Look at the reflections on this copper jug, wonderfully handled, and the way these this boy and this young man are conversing. He's looking at him, but he's looking across at her. Wonderful little narrative details in this overall scene. Has it been in your family for some time?
It was in my husband's family.
Right.
And I think his father bought it many years ago.
Was there any particular significance to the subject, do you think, for your father-in-law when he bought it?
Well, he worked in the fish market as a young boy.
Did he?
And his father was in the fish market before him. And so I imagine that because it's a market scene, that's what appealed to him.
Absolutely.
But I don't know, really.
But also the fact that it's on the quayside.
Yes.
There probably is fish being sold somewhere in the distance here.
I would guess so.
And the sort of moonlit nighttime markets would have been something that he would have remembered.
He had a good eye for paintings.
He certainly did.
And I think I had a good eye because when they split the house up, when the parents-in-law died, this was the one thing that I really loved.
It's a very good choice you made. A very good choice. Yeah. I mean, there's so much more when you get into it. There's this wonderful moonlight at the top of the picture, again, sort of illuminating the silhouettes of the buildings and the rigging of the ships behind, because
They're rigging. I
it's
didn't know what they were.
rigging of sailing vessels.
Yes, of course.
Incredibly beautifully handled, very subtle. And then, to reveal all, down at the bottom, is the signature here.
Yes.
P. van Schendel.
Yes.
Petrus van Schendel. A Dutch painter, but he worked in Belgium and Holland, and he absolutely specialised in these moonlit, candlelit scenes. It was his trademark, if you like. It was what he was absolutely brilliant at. And he was working in the middle of the 19th century, between about 1830 and 1870 was when he was really in his prime, painted in oil on this very nice bit of wood. Well, just quality is the word for it. It is by probably the leading candlelight painter of the 19th century.
That I didn't know. I did see some of Van Schendel's paintings in New York.
Yes.
2-3 years ago.
Yeah.
Perhaps 5 years ago.
Yeah. No. Well, his work does come up quite regularly at auction, so we know reasonably clearly what this probably would make. I think at auction now he's very much in vogue. He's very much sought after. A lot of people collect him. Probably make between 70 and 90,000 pounds. So you should probably insure it for 100,000 pounds.
Wow. Thank you.
Almost like winning the lottery. Almost 100,000 pounds for insurance.
Well, this is a piece of silver from the officers' mess of the King's Royal Hussars, and it was presented to the 10th Hussars, Prince of Wales's own, by King George IV on his accession to the throne, to commemorate his time in command of the 10th Hussars.
Do you know what most people don't realise about these great centerpieces? Is what extraordinary construction kits they are. And if you don't get these in the right place, they don't necessarily fit properly. So do you know who made it?
We believe it was made by a silversmith called Paul Storr.
We've actually got a maker's mark appearing here, and the maker's mark there is PR. Now that is not Paul Storr's mark. In fact, the clue to the whole thing is, let's just, where are we? Here we are. The inscription that runs around here, Rundle Bridge et Rundle Orifice Regis. Rundle Bridge and Rundle, the royal goldsmiths. The maker's mark there is that of Philip Rundell. I would suggest the greatest firm that there has ever been in the history of silver. But what Rundell did was to develop this firm in Ludgate Hill so that you had the top goldsmiths of the day. He wanted all the top men. So Digby Scott, Benjamin Smith, James Smith, and Paul Storr. I mean, it's like a who's who of the Regency period. It is, of course, silver gilt, not gold, which I'm sure is what you realise. It would be pretty well impossible to pick up. Had you considered value?
Well, it's obviously insured amongst the regimental property in silver, and its last valuation, we believe about 10 years ago, had it in the area of £750,000.
Right, 750,000. I would go along with that. It is, after all, a unique piece, commissioned by the King for presentation to one of the greatest of all the regiments. I mean, what a piece to have.
If jackets could talk, I think this one would have an amazing story to tell. Who did it belong to?
This jacket belonged to JFK, the President of the United States.
How do we know that?
There was a Swedish aristocrat who had a daughter called Gunilla von Post, and he sent her to finishing school almost in France, and she lived in the south of France and then in Paris, I believe. And she was JFK's lover before he got married to Jacqueline Bouvier.
I believe the relationship ended 1955, 1956. She then obviously kept it, never gave it back. So what was the history following then?
Well, some of her belongings and some of her love letters from JFK was sold recently in America, and some of his goods were left in the apartment, and she had 3 children and a nephew. The nephew was given some of the items, and his best friend is my father, and gave it to him.
A lot of information there. Let's take it one step at a time, because I'm slightly confused.
Okay.
So, this beautiful young girl, aged 21, 22.
Yes.
Down in the south of France,
Yes.
on holiday.
Yes.
Happens to bump into JFK.
Yes.
They fall in love.
Yes.
He then disappears back to the States. 2 or 3 weeks later, he marries
Yes.
Jacqueline.
Yes.
Without the provenance, you're not
Yes.
going to get the dollar
No.
signs.
No.
So, and that seems a very strong link, although quite a long one,
Yes.
from JFK's back
Yes.
to my back, if I can take it home with me now.
I mean, the other thing is that when I did the research on it, I thought, well, let's look at some of the details. And if it wasn't the right size, I would have then said, well, hang on a minute, but it is a 44, and he was a 44.
44.
Yeah.
In America, or anywhere worldwide, you know, it is an iconic piece. He was a cool dude, wasn't he?
He was.
What's it worth? I think probably at auction, should you decide to sell, somewhere along the line of between maybe 200,000 and 300,000 pounds.
That is a lot of money.
The story is everything.
Yes.
Please write it down.
Yes.
Put it in the pocket.
Yes.
I feel confident the market will pay that price.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Glad I brought it. And I'm never going to sell it. Yes, I am.